Hey guys, alrighty, so I went ahead and finished off the body. This is step 3 of our Jeep build. So here it is. I got on a mock-up chassis, and I'll show you guys later on. But this is what I've gotten so far. So I made a tailgate, and I'll show you the inside. Just move this aside here. I'm gonna put the frame away here. So, what I did is I finished off the fender wells, and I also did the inside, and I also made the back tailgate. So what I did with the tailgate, it was just a piece of styrene with a couple of strips for body line, and then your top rail. And then on the back here, I put some 1/8 round tubing. I glued these on with the plastic model glue, you know, for model kits. I find it's a little stronger glue for kind of a stress area because it actually melts the plastic instead of just bonds it. So that's that. And then on the inside, I did the inside of the truck bed. So what I did is, I'll show you guys. So all of my builds have this. I take it out. Like that. The next one, I yank out. And then I also yank out the back. And also, I had made my grill, but I still didn't fasten it in. And it just kind of fits inside. Something like that. But that I'll glue in later on, because I still have a bit of work to do on it. So what I did is, again, on the back, I glued 1/8 tubing, also to kind of coincide with my tailgate. And then I just put pins to lock it all in, so it swivels. And that's pretty much my tailgate. So I just use some fine wire, pick it up anywhere, and just as long as it fits inside your 1/8 tubing, like that. And I also screwed the body together, like I'll show you guys. I always like screwing them together for the simple reason is that it's easier to paint and also to work on. And this way, take this apart here. So what I did is I put a piece of 100 thickness of styrene to build it out so you have a bit of a space between. And then that's where I drew my lines. And on the inside here, I'll show you later on, but on the inside I countersunk for a flathead. So that when I put my back panel on, you won't, the screw won't interfere, so it's flush with the back. So I'll just put this back together. And what I did is that I just lined it up and then I just screwed it together so that everything lines up. A lot of times I'll go ahead and I'll put a little bit bigger hole. I'll go 1/8 or something like that, just so that you can move it a little bit if you don't have it spot on, and that way you can do a bit of fine tuning on the back. So I'll just put this so countersink goes in here. Finish putting this last screw in. Again, you need about 3 arms. So there you go. And then to put everything back again. Also, don't forget, remember what I showed you guys regarding the groove here? That's where your bottom sits in. Groove around here, all around, right? So that when you put this back together, you just slide it back in, like so. Like I said, it's great for painting, so you don't have to mask everything up. I like to paint my back black. And then my fender, I always use pretty flexible because sometimes you do have to flex it out. And also, what I did is that, you see I guess the piece of trim I put for the slots or whatever. I know it's not the proper word, But the rails right here, I just use it, just some styrene. I used it from Evergreen. I got it at Hobby House, and it's a number 138. It's 30 thou by 188 wide. And I do all my body panel lines, all the frames on the inside. And then I just put everything in. And then this is the back I was telling you guys about. So here, I just slide that in. And everything's grooved, so it kind of locks itself in. Like that. You see, and then these panels can't come out. You see? So I can't take them out unless I take the back off, and then everything else comes off. And then my tailgate, I'll leave that off for right now. But again, and here I started the framework. So what I did is, here I start off with a piece of cardboard. Okay, what I did is I turned this upside down, and then I cut some cardboard to match the interior of the truck. Just like that. I don't know if you guys can see that. I know it's a little crooked. Okay. So this is where my seats are going to go, and then this is where the front part, and then this is where my battery is. So what I did is I got a piece of masonite. You can get this at Home Depot. You know, the handy panels. It's just 1/4-inch masonite as a frame, and I went and cut it. And again, I put my frame rails, as you want to say, on the front and back. I glued it. So also here I left about 1/8 of an inch, and also I left about 1/8 of an inch here in the front. The reason why I do that is that when I put my bumper on, I have a piece of angle iron, and I just slide it up inside, and it won't interfere with the front of my truck. So there's a bit of a space I leave. So this fits just like this. Alrighty. And then on the front part, I made this little piece that goes on the inside. I'll show you guys. It goes right here. And that is just so that this becomes a 90-degree angle. So when I put my body on, or my frame I should say, it'll lock it in. So if I go like this, so I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but it kind of locks it in. Yeah, I didn't screw in all of my drive shafts or anything. I leave everything loose, just in case I have to remove everything. There we go. Why did it all fall? So, alrighty. Next thing I did, I'm using the planetary gears from RC 4-wheel drive. I made the frame. It's about 2.5 inches wide, and that'll fit exactly in between the screw holes. And also it fits my battery perfectly, and also my servo. And also I'm also using the transfer case, this one right here. It's also from RC 4-wheel drive. And I'm also using the Mega Truck drive shaft, the real small one. I believe this one's like 80 to 115 millimeters, something like that, or it's really small, so that I can connect both of them. And I always use the steel ones because I've tried the plastic ones, and for some reason they always pop out on me. So there you go. Alrighty. And I made a groove to accept my transfer case. And I put this back together. Again, I pre-drilled some holes and to fasten everything. Remember, you're using 1/4-inch masonite, so it's not the strongest stuff when you're screwing into it. So be very, very cautious. You might split it a bit. So there we go. And then I just put a couple screws in just to hold onto it. just temporarily until everything is everything is perfect or how I like it. Doesn't give me troubles. There we go. Oh, got it in the wrong spot. There we go. Yeah. So that's in. And also if you're going to do this type of frame, remember that your motor doesn't protrude the top because that's where your top is going to be sitting on. And also I went ahead and I made some grooves. I made one groove and I thought that where I was going to put my servo, and I decided to move it backwards. So I just put a groove so I can extend my wire. And this is where I put my servo. I put it a little back so that it also clears the motor. I tried the other way and the servo arm was too far inside and I was going to have too much of an angle. So I just moved the servo back and I put my servo arm in front. Usually I put my servo arm in the back, pointing that way, but this time, because this one has a short nose on it, I figured that this is probably the best way. And also on the inside, I just put an extra piece of 1/4 inch for my servo. Again, this is just a mock-up until you guys figure out your holes that you guys want to put in for your shocks, your transmission, and all that type of stuff, and your suspension. So here also, I did a 4-link mount on the Yoda axles. These are the axles I'm using. Right now I'm just using the blue shocks because I'm still waiting on the 80 mil shocks that are coming in from RC 4-wheel drive, and I did the RC 4-wheel drive, the 90 mil shocks in the front. So what I did is I made my own truss for the Yoda for the 4-link setup, and what I did is I just made a piece of steel. I bent it around. I don't know if you guys can see that. Take a look. I'll just zoom in here. You see? And then I just put a set screw at the top, and then I use my my 3-way links, and I just put it up further up where I always put all of the top link along the sides, and also my bottom links. I always make a groove at the bottom so that everything runs nice and smooth. So if I'm going over top of rock, it's not hitting it. So I'll just take this off, zoom here. And I did it on both sides. So again, when I do my mock-up, I always include that, and then I just drill a hole in the center on each one, and that's where I put my rod ends. And I also did the same thing on the front of the Yoda. So right there. It's pretty easy to make. I use 16 gauge steel, and I make a template out of cardboard, and I just bend it around, and I center it, and I drill a hole, and I just put a screw or a set screw or something like that, and then I put my my 3-way links. So see how it's set up, and then I'm going to put my drive shafts back in here. These are the RC 4-wheel drive. These are the SCX10 steel drive shafts. I always use the steel ones because with the weight of my vehicles, if you use the plastic ones, you'll just pop the yokes right out, and then you guys have to take everything apart and put everything back together. But like I said, I always use the steel drive shafts. They're the best way to go. Like I said, my trucks are really heavy. Some of the SCX10s are not so heavy, and also the Trail Finder, so you'll be able to get away with the plastic ones. But like I said, I always use the steel ones because my trucks are so much heavier than most vehicles. Let me set this in here. So there we go. Now, the way I set everything up, I put my body upside down. Then I put my frame inside. Okay. And then for my links, what I do is I line up my axle. And these are just spare tires I had because I'm going to be using the Flashpoints tires, and they're about the same size. These are already made, so I figure I'll just ahead and go and use them. And what I do is I try to center the center of my axle to the center of my wheel well. And then what I do is I take I get some 3mm threaded rod, like this, and very simple. I'll take off this wheel here, so I show you guys. See, so you want the center of this to be in the center of your wheel well, and what you do is you kind of hold it up. What you do is also you put all your links on. I use the rod ends. I use the offset rod ends, and I also use the bent rod ends, and I use the smaller ones, the short regular rod ends. But here on this one, I put the bent rod end on the axle, and then I just put the offset one on my frame. You take a look. I want to keep this arm as straight as possible with the bottom of my frame. The more angle you have, the more, when you push down, the more it's going to ride sideways. So the straighter this is, the better off you'll be. So what I did is I just held on to this, the rod end on both of them, and just kind of eyed it. So I put this in the center, I lift them both up, and then I add about 3/8 of an inch more. I go to the end of the rod end and the end of the other one, which is about 3/8, and then I just cut with a pair of wire cutters, and I just sand the ends down so they're not rough, so they go in real nice into the rod ends. And that's how I do these links. And then on the center ones, so if I take off these guys, that's the one that's hooked up. So that's the ones that stop you from going back and forth. And that, again, that's attached to my frame on the inside. I have some set screws right here. Okay. And again, you offset it to wherever you want your pumpkin. So you can go forward and backwards. I like the axle to kind of be more in line like this. So I'll bring it further in. And then I just hook these up. Again, I pre-measured everything. And it takes a while because I always cut a little big, and then there's always some fine tuning you have to do. And it's pretty solid. And then for my shocks, what I did is I put my shocks in first on my axle, and then I'll let it hang as 90 degrees as I can. And then I'll just take a pencil and I'll mark exactly where it's straight. And then I'll also put some spacers so that my shocks are not in so far. You see, the further out you get, that way. I like to have them as straight as possible, so I just put some spacers alongside the frame. If you guys can see that. So I'll put my tire back on, and that's how basically you do your links. I always like the 4-link setup because I like to have more travel on my vehicles. Some people like to have half an inch, which I like to have a bit more. I find that I can climb a little bit more, and I can go over the top of obstacles a lot more, and I can keep 4 or 3 wheels on the ground. So you see, I have a good almost 4 inches of travel. And then on the front, my steering, what I did is that because of my servo arms coming out quite a bit, I just used some of the offset rod ends to have my steering rod a little further, and then I use some of the bent rod ends You see? So that when I go back and forth, if I use just the straight ones, there's too much, they don't bend as well. So I just use the bent ones. There's, I find that the travel, it's limited. So this way I can go up and down and I don't have to worry about it. You see? And again, I put some spacers on the sides of my shocks. And the shocks are 90 mils. And then my servo, well, I just hook up. But don't forget, if you're going to do a setup like this, this is about 2¼ inches or 2½ inches wide, and it fits perfectly for my transmission, my battery, which is going to be right here. Here, on my mock-up one, I just cut a slot out so that I'm going to put a aluminum panel on the bottom to hold my battery, so I can able to slide my connector through this hole, because this is where the battery is going to sit. So put everything back together. There we go. We got one truck. And also, you have to line up with the wheel well. And also, you don't want to go too high, because otherwise you'll be hitting your fender. And the same thing with the front. You have to make sure that when you turn your wheel, you're not hitting the inner fender or the outer fender if it comes down. This one is pretty good because the tire comes out quite far, so I don't have to worry about it. It's quite short. But on other trucks, on my Jeep, I have to worry not to hit the front. So I can go up and it doesn't hit my inner fender, because otherwise it'll be constant rubbing. And again, everything is loose, I cut out a hole here to allow it to sit on my frame. So my frame is going to sit down, and also it helps it to keep it centered. See? And that's how I got so far on this build. The other parts I've used are the I just got the axle, the 3-link connectors for the front and back. I also use the traxes. I buy the longer screws. You can get in different lengths. The 3mm screws. They're the butt heads, just from Traxxas. You can get them, 18, 20 mil, 25 mil, whatever you need, because on these with your spacers you need a little longer screw. Also, I've used the 55 turn RC 4-wheel drive motor, and for my servo I use a Savox, the SC 0251MG, and that one pushes out at 6 volts, I think 222 ounces, something like that. Like I said, pretty heavy trucks, and so far I haven't had any issue with these servos. Like I said, and I run my trucks pretty hard sometimes. It doesn't look like it, but I do. I just don't try to flip them over. But I do run them. I put them through their test. And the drive shafts are RC 4-wheel drive. There's the SCX10, the steel ones, and I'm going to be getting the 80 mil shocks. These are just right now, just so I can show you guys. And on these ones, I just put stiffer internal springs in them, because by the time that I put all my weight down, it's going to sink down a good ½ inch lower. So that's why I'm not too worried having too much suspension. Sometimes I'll go right down to the end of my shock, because you can still have some travel. You see, on the back and on the front. So there's a good, let's take a look. About 3.5, I would say, of travel. So my next step is, I'm going to make some inner fender wells. I always like to put the fender well so I can hide everything, and that will be step number 4. And also I'm going to be putting my seats, my floor right here. so that I can put my seats on, and then also I'll be making my dash to fit on the inside. Now here I put a small little groove, and that's where I'm going to sit my dash on the next step. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. And the next step will be I'll have this already in aluminum, and it'll be ready to go. I'll have some parts painted, probably my my 4-way link mount right here back here. If you guys want, I can show you how to more in detail, and I can provide a template to show you guys if you guys are interested. And if also, I don't know how many of you guys are going to be doing this frame setup. I've been doing this for a long time, and these are the type of frames I've been using, and they haven't. I can go with the best of them. They're a little heavier, but I like a heavier truck. I find it rides better. It doesn't bounce around as much, and you get more articulation. Sometimes it could be a drawback because it is a little bit heavier. I've put the Silverado, the 3500. If you take a look at my video, it was a really good steep incline, and she climbed it no problem with this type of setup. Like I said, I don't know if you guys are doing this or the SCX10 or the Trailfinder, but give it a shot, guys. It's a neat way of doing something a little differently. A lot of guys ask me how come I don't do a more realistic frame, but let's face it, by the time that I put your body on and I put my skid plate and my bumper, you pretty much don't even see the frame on this truck. So that's what I've got so far. And on my next step, like I said, it'll be with aluminum. I'll show you all the little details. I'll have this thing put in an aluminum plate at the bottom so I can sit my battery in it. Again, this is the best way of doing it, guys. Just mock up. You can drill all the holes you want, get everything set up properly, you know. And then when you're ready to do your real piece out of aluminum, you know exactly. You just have to take these templates apart, and you just pre-drill exactly where all these holes are, and you can just put everything back together, and away you go. You'll already have your frame already all set up. I set this in on my transmission. I put it on an angle so that I have inside right here, well, right here, so that it's not a steep angle. I try to line everything up as best as I can, and like I said, just make sure that your motor doesn't pop through, because again, that's where your motor, your body is going to be sitting, is on this part right here. Again, if you guys have any questions, email me on the forums. Also, you can see I did a bit of work. I got my truck set up, so some of my builds, and starting to get my act together for my display area. I'll be probably putting some more trucks right here. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, again, email me. I'll be more than happy to answer all your questions. The parts I've used, and if anybody's interested in this type of frame, what I can do is let me know, and I'll post it online. I'll draw it out, and you can put it towards your vehicle. Remember, this is I made it to fit my truck, you know. So your frame might be a little bit different, but I can just draw it all out, and you have the kind of the gist of it, and then you guys can go ahead. But if you need to see some of my frames out there, if you guys want to go ahead and do it, it's going to be at a 1/4 inch plate, aluminum, just flat aluminum, and we'll cut it all up, and we'll put everything together, and we'll show you on the next build. And yeah, again, if you have any questions, let me know. Again, thanks a lot, guys, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care now. Bye now.